Hi, I'm Darryl Bate, Account Director on Total Jobs Group platform Caterer.com. And I'm very pleased to be catching up with both Ben and Martyn from Malmaison Hotel de Van, which is part of her Frasers Hospitality. And I'd like to thank you for your time today. If you'd like to
Alright.
introduce yourselves.
Yeah, Martyn Ball. I'm People and Development Director at Malmaison Hotel de Van Frasers, looking after EMEA, and currently sat at my home in Leicestershire.
And Ben.
I'm Ben Gabbitas, Head of Recruitment and Onboarding for Malmaison Hotel de Van and Frasers Hospitality UK.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time today, guys. Like I said, it's just a catch-up, just to find out how you've been finding things. And I've got some questions that we can go through and start a conversation. So the first one I'll go with is what changes, if Martyn, you've had to make within HR and the business during this current COVID-19?
Yeah, certainly from an HR perspective, we've been focusing quite a lot on, right back in the beginning, it was all about furlough. We actually had done a huge amount of work leading up to that date on securing our workforce on a short time basis. So we put loads of plans in place. And then obviously Boris leaps out with furlough, and we've quickly had to backtrack and say, actually, this furlough scheme is better than what we were doing. So we moved everybody onto the furlough scheme for a few months, and it's been working really well from that point of view. We did a lockdown team for each of the properties, so we managed to get a group of sort of 8 or 10 people on each property, and they've done a great job of some basic maintenance work, but also we've been doing a little bit of renovation, getting some of our properties freshened up as well, which has been really good, doing work which we've been putting off really. So I think getting those two teams set up was the priority in the beginning. I think beyond that, we've really been focusing on engagement, just keeping people in touch with what's going on as the government bring out new rules and things that might change, and the flexible furlough more recently. It's just about keeping our staff updated on that and how it impacts them, and when we plan to reopen, and making sure they've got access to the advice portal, the employee advice portal. We've got some mental health advice on what to do at home, how to keep yourselves busy. We opened up all of the training portal, so we're an online training portal, so we made sure there's plenty of training for people to do if they get a bit bored. So a lot of that definitely sort of trying to keep lockdown as trim as possible, and I think preparing for reopening, we've had a huge amount of input around training before people come back. And more importantly, we've designed a sort of questionnaire risk assessment type thing where employees can tell us whether they think they can come back, because I think we're in this strange situation where schools are closed, summer clubs are probably closed, and people's work situations are very difficult, and asking people to come back is one thing, then being able to come back is probably another. So we're sort of just leaping into that at the moment in anticipation of July opening.
Okay. And what's been the current approach with preparing for a return? Have you had those discussions about when it's looking to reopen, particularly with like Ben as well, in terms of recruiting, and what's that going to look like after this?
I think we've got a lot of people that are keen to come back. I think, as I said, I think it's whether or not personally they can come back, because they're able to. I guess the scepticism is all around two big issues. I think obviously the 2 metre versus 1 metre argument is absolutely valid, and would make a huge difference to our industry. And the reason why that has an impact on us is because obviously that would increase the amount of staff we can ask to come back. We think we could be busy. We've seen a lot of our competitors fall by the wayside, so we're confident we can securely open, and even at 2 metres we can offer something. But you could certainly, if the demand is higher and you can serve more people, we would ask more staff to come back. But the sad state of affairs is, at 2 metres, that's going to be difficult in some properties. So it's working through that, making sure that we're ready for different scenarios. Obviously, we haven't got all the advice from the government yet, but we've got options. We've worked through different scenarios, and we can go with whichever is suitable based on the advice that the government give this week.
Yeah. And in terms of the training development side of things, during furlough, sorry for that. Ben, you've been looking after that system, is that right, in terms of the integration, or
yeah,
how's that been going?
Yeah, it's been good. We've just rolled out a new e-learning platform, so we've just partnered with Flow Hospitality over the last couple of months, and that launched at the back end of May out to the properties. Getting everybody up to speed and engaged with the new platform at this time when you can't do it face-to-face or in a classroom environment has been interesting. But the uptake is good, and as Martyn said, instead of waiting for the platform to produce COVID-19 return to work training, we've designed and built our own. So our health and safety team and the training department have written and created a module for our properties, and that will cover everything from how they getting them to think about how they're travelling to work and avoiding peak times, that being safe when they come to work, and then entering the building, sanitizing, all of the processes, and how we interact with guests. The expectation of guests is going to be different, so it should be really interesting to see how that's taken on.
Okay, fair enough. And obviously, I was going to say, in terms of the mental health and engaging with people in lockdown, how have you found that, considering that no one really had a real policy for engaging with employees for such a crisis? What did you manage to put in place to try and do that? Because it's been a big topic that everyone's been talking about. It'd just be interesting to see what you guys have managed to do, as you're quite proactive as an employer.
Yeah, I think we've obviously, with Flow, we've got now the ability to use the news platform and news feed and notice boards and stuff like that. So I think, that's going to be huge for people, especially because Flow have got an app. It's easily accessible and things like that. But beyond that, we've been doing some emails around and some attachment stuff, some best advice. We've tried to make it a little bit more light-hearted. Some of the properties have done some fantastic lockdown newsletters and videos on YouTube. We've seen PowerPoints of pictures of work that's happening, and pictures of the maintenance and the lockdown team, what they've been up to. So even if people can't get to see the property and see the work that's getting on face to face, obviously they get an idea that it's not just sat down, it's closed with the dust settling. So that's been really good, and I think we've had some really good funny stories come out of that. And that's been quite helpful for people. We decided to also share good news feeds, because we felt there was loads of negative, bad news.
Agreed.
So I had lots of really great responses from people saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realise you could go to a website that only gives you good news." So so we did that. That was really positive. And just generally, as I said, keeping people in touch. I think we've had a lot of people who live on their own. They're quite lonely. They've been really engaged in some of the stuff we've been talking about, and they've shown gratitude for that, more than anything. So it's been very good.
And what sort of, my last question before we know, what sort of questions have you been getting from employees during this, in terms of communication legislation, in terms of receiving from employees? It'd be interesting to see, because like I said, we don't know how they feel, and we've been doing surveys as a business, but it's been nice to see what your employees are asking you, so that we can relay that.
I would say they've generally been asking about when, they want to know when they can come back. Clearly, a lot in the beginning, people were concerned whether or not they could or could not be furloughed. The scheme was quite difficult for people to understand. But I think now they've had that security. Now it's just about coming back to work. I'd say the biggest quick question we have now is, holidays, quarantine. Obviously, this week we've had a lot of questions around that, about if people go on holiday and things. So I would say generally, nothing scary. I don't think we've had any questions that I would say are out of the ordinary. Nobody is particularly sort of panicking and sort of, is my job safe? I think, they know that we're desperate to reopen, and they know that the levels of business need to be good enough to get everybody back. So I think, like everybody, they're sitting tight, and they just keen to get back to the brand.
Well, I'm going to say many thanks, Martyn and Ben. It's been great to catch up. Really interesting points, valuable insight, and thank you for everyone who's going to watch. Please look out for more Caterer.com catch-ups on the feed soon.
Cheers.